I have completed the main story of Skyrim, but that journey is not over yet, my friends. Hell no. We are closing in on the end. In fact, I have a few hours this morning where we will be finishing up Skyrim because we're going to be checking out Oblivion to see what's there. Bethesda's like, go on, compare it apples to apples. You've had this fresh experience. So I'm going to take a look at that. And of course, if you're watching the live stream or catch this, the fact that it doesn't matter. You miss drama time and you miss our movie watch along of Suburban Sasquatch, which has happened today. Why are you not in the live stream? Twitch.tv/PreachLFW. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Anyway, let's get to Skyrim because I know many of you will be like, do this main story. Do the main story. I don't know what the intention is behind that request where it's like, we want you to... Either you want to know what my reaction is to it, or it's like you love it so much, you can't wait for me to play it. Overall, let's give the TLDR on the main story before we get to the Dragonborn DLC, which I've now started. And cheese! Yes, cheese! I'm aware of the cheese. The main story of Skyrim. Some very strong opinions on this, such as like the main story doesn't matter at all. The main story is just bad. The main story is whatever. It's forgettable. In fact, a lot of people revealed, not a lot, but a few people revealed they don't even initiate the main story when they replay Skyrim, and it stops the dragons spawning and all that stuff just so they can avoid any of that frustration because the dragons are just irritating. I would argue the dragons are the worst part of Skyrim. They're just really annoying. And they're just very annoying when they show me like, oh God. And the AI is so bad. So I see where people are coming from with that. I would not say that the main story is bad. I don't believe that to be true. I would say the main story is entirely serviceable and functional for what Skyrim is. Is it the deepest, is it going to leave a tear in my eye, and am I going to remember, like, intrinsic details in a year's time? Absolutely not. No, I'm not. But I will say, for a game that is about exploration and visiting this huge world with various political aspects and guilds and intrigue and story and mystery happening buried in this, like, unveiled land... or veiled land, I should say. The main story serves what it's supposed to do. I can totally get what Bethesda was going for here. We get a few mainline actors in, like Max von Sydow. I now recently found out that Patrick Stewart did Oblivion. Those are going to draw in people like, ooh, putting those celebrity names on it. Give them not much to say. A couple of set-piece cutscenes that are a little bit more than what you would find in some of the side stories. But basically, the main story for me went, now you're in Whiterun. Now you have to travel to the other side of the world to do the next part of the story. And the point is, along the way, you will bump into a whole host of just an absolute cacophony of major story points. Not major story points, but extra stuff that's happening in this land of Skyrim. That's great. While I'm not like hyper invested in the story, I thought it had some great moments. The great meeting of the houses, I guess we could say, or the political parties of Skyrim, hosted by in High Hrothgar, was okay. It really depends on you intricately remembering certain people that you've met and what they're doing. And you get to choose some outcomes for Skyrim that, is changing the landscape a little bit. That was cool, but in true Bethesda style, it doesn't really matter, because if you just decide to do the main story, you make these major sweeping changes of cities changing hands and things like that, and you complete the story within like 20 minutes later. And it's like, oh, okay, they probably haven't even sent the memo to the town to say they're being replaced in some fashion. But like, it was cool. It was I get the point. It's like, okay, these two people need to work together to overcome this threat. And this Game of Thrones style of like, you guys are fighting the North, fighting the South, but the zombie army is coming. The dragons are here. Alduin is here. That's eat the world. So put your stuff aside for now. Just cooperate for a few minutes because we need to deal with this. Although I will say, I don't think that paid off in any way. Again, there's just traps with the story that just don't really fit the narrative they're trying to tell, because you just go to Whiterun and trap the dragon. Which... interestingly enough, not bugged, but didn't do what it was supposed to do. But I actually think it's because I had the companion mod on, so I had Lydia and Serana. Serana is hilarious in every cutscene because of her AI. But Lydia just like flat out tanked the dragon away from the trap. And I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Am I supposed to like despawn Lydia here or something? Eventually he did move to get into the trap. But I really sort of was okay with this. Like, good talk with the dragon. They stand up for their, they remained in character is what I would say. Of being these ancient, honorable creatures that's, you know, will not just acquiesce to anything. I always think of creatures that are somewhat everlasting, but obviously the dragons can die, but you get the idea. They like live a much longer lifespan than us, and for them, you know, a century is a blink of an eye. And you trap him and he's like, I mean, let me go, because I don't want to be here, but I'm not gonna like just bow down to you either. That's not gonna happen. And then we got to fly on a dragon to have the final showdown with Alduin is what we expected to happen, because he's been hiding high up in the mountains and it's not accessible by path. And it also removed any companions you had, which I don't think existed in the base game anyway. So it made sense that you're like on this solo mission towards the end. All this was great. I liked it. It's not like I was overwhelmed by it. Like, oh my God. It was all very like A to B to C, and it all made sense, and the serviceable story, what was going on. It's like the narrative that's happening. I would say this. Skyrim still exists in a time where they're like, please use your imagination a little bit as to what is going on, because we can't really represent it yet in the way you would probably expect of a game in 2025. So traveling to Valhalla or Sornborn or whatever their version of it is the great afterlife. And there's like 40 people there. Do you know what I mean? And it's a house at the end of a valley. But you get the idea. It's like, use your imagination. This is the afterlife. And you do bump into a couple of souls that you've met throughout your journey who are trapped in this mist, because Alduin, you killed Alduin's physical body, but he's here now, consuming souls and gaining strength. And you must visit the heroes of the past. Again, it's like, use your imagination a little bit, sort of harkening back to those yonder Atari Commodore days where you had like just pixels and you could fill in the blanks. Even Undertale falls into that category, right? It's like, use your imagination as to what's happening here. And it works. It does work. It's fine. It comes across as jank and gimmicky. I did like you gather the... It actually had a weird moment. You have to gather the assembled heroes of old in order to push back Alduin's mist, because he's hiding in the fog, consuming these souls. Although you can walk through it like fine and nothing happens. And they all need their Thuum, their shouts of clear skies to break it through. For some reason, they made that dialogue happen by proximity, not by interacting with those heroes. They've got quest markers above their head. And I was obviously looking for Easter eggs in Valhalla. Like, is there people here that I've killed in the past? Maybe some mistakes you've made, like Grelda, the orphanage lady, is actually here in Valhalla for some reason, because she was actually a really good person. She just had a bad attitude, or you caught her on a bad day or something like that. So I was looking for Easter eggs, and then suddenly the quest completed, and I was like, what is going on? And it turned out I had walked past the heroes, and they had just jumped into this massive dialogue that I have no idea what they said whatsoever, because I was walked away, because I was like, oh, I'll do the quest in a minute. I want to explore the area, then I'll go and do the quest, but it just triggered itself. So I stood outside with them, and I'm like, I don't know what we're doing. I have no idea. And they're like, you must shout. And I did the wrong shout first. I was like, it's this one. And it was like, oh, it's the Clear Skies one when we had to see Party Snacks. Get it. Did make a cool choice with Party Snacks is the leader of the Blades, when the Blades show up at the meeting at High Hrothgar. Ebner, or whatever he's called. He's like, look, I know that Party Snacks is up there. And Party Snacks was the lieutenant of Alduin. Like, he has committed some absolutely heinous crimes. He might be reformed now and changed, but justice is justice. He needs to be brought to justice. You need to go and kill Party Snacks. And I'm like, isn't that the point of reform? Isn't the point that somebody might have had a bad experience or circumstance or environment and has pushed them to, you know, do these abominable things, but they have reformed. They have changed, and now they're doing good for the world, including, like, giving us the means itself, or at least informing us of how we can defeat Alduin, and wants an end to this tyranny of the dragons. Should he die? And there's like that little moral quandary. And I'm like, this is cool. I chose not to. I was like, no, Party Snacks has been... The Party Snacks I know is not the Party Snacks of yesteryear. And so I'm moving forward with Party Snacks and leaving them alive. Then we had the final fight with Alduin, which died. I popped my berserking, so it gives me, what, double damage. I had stacked so much damage, I just clomped him in the head and beat him to the ground. Which is fine. Like, that's what I expected to happen with the main story, especially because I'm wearing essentially DLC or bonus gear that people have made. I've been wearing, like, Umbra armor and having a mega weapon for a really long time. So it's not surprising whatsoever that I bonked him into the oblivion itself. And then returned, and it did it again! I can't believe this! There's no bow on the main story! I'm like, what is going on with Bethesda? How is this possible? You literally come out of Valhalla, and they go, and Party Snacks is like, sweet, we're free now. And then nothing happens. I'm like, should we not go and tell somebody that Alduin is now dead and the world is free and this tyranny of the World Eater is gone and purged from our lands? Should we not see the General Tullus, and should we not see Jarl Ulfric? Should we not go and tell the Greybeards that this is happening? No, nothing. He's like, Party Stacks just goes, awesome, we're free now. So anyway, I'll see you later. And you're like, what? What? What is going on? Why is there no bow on this story? There's just no bow to tie it all together. So I was like, right, I'm going to go and tell them myself. So I went down back to High Hrothgar and I talked to Argonian or whatever he's called. And I'm like, yo, I killed Alduin. And he goes, good. So anyway, I'm like, oh my God. All right. I guess this is just how Bethesda works. It's the same as the companion story. It's like, there's just no neat bow to put on the main story of Skyrim to be like, the world is now free, rejoice. The people need to be aware. They're like, oh, awesome. Anyway, we're going to move on with our day. And you're like, all right, then. I guess I'll go do something else. Cool. I'm the Dragonborn, by the way. And moved on with it. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing to me. It's like, even FF14, which is a constantly running world of MMO gameplay that never ends, has a bow on the end of its main story. You'll even get a credits roll, for Christ's sake, of what's going on there. Even Terraria does that. Like, even though it's got no story to speak of, you kill the last boss, you kill the Moon Lord, and there's a credits roll, but the game doesn't stop, because obviously you want to do more stuff, but like, it does have it's like, there you go, that's the solution, that's the victory condition. You're like, all right, cool. And then it's like, yeah, get on with it. We know you've got a quest log full of stuff, just get on with it. And you're like, all right, which then goes back to what the main story is. It's a function of the game. That's what it is. It's designed to just make sure you go out and see everything else they have on offer, because it's a whole buffet. Yes, there's a dessert plate, but you can then go back to the main course if you want to. It's totally up to you what you do. And I was like, okay, it makes sense. Like, it's actually quite fitting. It's just surprising that even the main story doesn't have something like that, which I found really fun. I then was like going to do the Dragonborn DLC. Before that, though, the cheese. I'm not. I didn't like this. I'm sorry. I didn't like this. Now, some people are going to say it's because one of the puzzles took me a couple of minutes to figure out what it wanted, because it was kind of red herringing you. That wasn't the reason. It also bugged out the first time we got there. But ultimately, it was one of those little silly, whimsical side quests, Sheogorath, which was an interesting character, but it's just a little limited side quest that was... I didn't care about any of the characters involved. That's the main thing with these little side quests. I think what this is it became a community meme with the cheese, like a big community meme, and people remember it more fondly than maybe what it actually is. Like I have that all the time, man. I have that all the time with so many things that I saw as a kid, and then I watch it back and I'm like, objectively. In fact, the best example would be the Burning Crusade World of Warcraft. That was one of my favorite ever, if not my favorite ever expansions, because it's when, in my memory, which has a lovely rose glow over it, it was when the game got faster, the gameplay got more interesting, and you could start doing more things than the slow, plodding, like, vanilla World of Warcraft experience. But when TBC Classic came out, I played it for one evening, and I was like, oh... no, it was still really bad. Crap. It was definitely better than vanilla, which is why I remember it so fondly. But by the stuff I've played now, and it was actually destroying my nostalgic memories of the Burning Crusade. So I didn't play it for that reason. I was like, I'm not going to play this because it's actually just really bad. It sucks. And I'm going to just leave it there. So I think that's maybe more the case here, is like it became a big community meme. People remember it very fondly. They all found out, they were all in on the joke. But for me, coming from the outside, I was like, this is just kind of very, very, very mid at best. And I could tell my audience who had not seen this before were like, this is kind of crap. So I did it though. So I'm aware of the cheese. Let's just put it that way. But then I cannot believe that the Dragonborn DLC was an entire new landmass. And there's a good story developing here, sir. I actually quite liked I like what's on offer here. The idea of going to a new land where something is very, very wrong because people are being mind controlled and manipulated, and they're building towers. The way I did this is I actually explored the outer edge of the landmass, because there's usually some cool, interesting things out there. I will point out that we had another massacre. Not my fault, though. The goblins that inhabit the outer caves of this land, for some reason they decided, probably because people had more AoE options by that point, spawn en masse. There's loads and loads of them, so I've killed a lot of them, because I cleared a lot of cages. I would argue potentially 20 to 30% of all the creatures I've killed in this game came from just the Dragonborn DLC in the few hours I played it, and it's all goblins. I monstered those people. To the point that people were telling, like, my stream started retelling stories from the perspective of my victims, which was hilarious. That went on for like an hour of people telling these like fan fiction tales of my victims. Of I was feeding the children, I just put them to sleep, and then the cold hard steel of the hammer, I heard it grinding on the floor outside, and then in a flash, this ebony-clad nightmare appeared, all this kind of stuff. It was great. But the main story of bumping into these people building the towers, and there's some people who are like, their loved ones are doing it, and they can't be stopped. And also, some of the more curious, Neroth is his name, the Dark Elf, who's watching people do this, and he's like, no, don't stop them. I want to see what they're building. To me, it looked like they were opening a portal. There was a central temple, which people couldn't remember Marac. Some sort of cloud has been put over there. For those of you who've ever seen Darkman, classic movie with Alec Baldwin back in the day, will know what I'm talking about. Their vision has been clouded. They can sort of remember something about a temple, but they're not sure. So it's like the entire population has been manipulated by Marac in some way. But these people are just building these towers. And to me, it looked like they were building tower constructs which would lead to an opening of a portal, the return of Marac. Eventually getting to the temple with Freya, who is a great character. Love the introduction of Freya. Shows that Marac is trapped in... I should know the name of this, because earlier on in the story, I've met this creature, and I forget his name, but he's basically the Void, tentacly Void Man, who is wiggly and slimy and things like that. And we're in his realm now, the realm of chaos or whatever it is, all green and nasty. And we must seek out these dark tome blood things, which are giving like permanent buffs, because it's a DLC which people probably played after the main game. So it's one of those where we need to give people more power in some way. So they give us words like the word of power dragon, which will enhance all your damage and do things like that. And now you're in these weird realms of mystery things, and they've changed the model, so giants are now these lurkers, these fish-like Lovecraftian creatures. I'm totally into this, as we do meet Marac in a cutscene, who is mockingly saying, oh, you killed Alduin? I would have killed him myself, but I was busy. Like, he's not concerned with any of the petty creatures you fought in the past, and he's making his return, and he's a dragon rider, and all this kind of intrigue is going on, and the people that are not under his influence are trying to protect themselves, and you have to go and do shouts to free them. So I'm very into this story. I'm really hoping we finish it today, because it will be at 12 o'clock. I swapped to Oblivion because that is like an obligation I have to do. I want to do it, but I want to also tidy up Skyrim and have some dangling threads, because of course we are beginning Valheim on Monday with OK Mage. Me and her are going to, I hope, have a wild time. What should be a very fun game. So that's where we're at. So tomorrow, when I speak to you, it's probably the end of Skyrim for now, and I'll have my final thoughts for you. So make sure you stay tuned for that, guys. If not, I hope to see you in the live stream, and be good. Bye, everybody.